Welcome, my darlings, to my humble chateau. Please make yourself very comfortable. Relax your mind and release your imagination to me. I will bring you a story to entrance and entertain. Perhaps a frightening one. Perhaps a steampunk. Perhaps a bit of mythology. Anyway, sit back, enjoy, and subscribe to me. Collected Tales 13 Sisters by Gelfwyn. The silly creature had gone and fallen asleep, expecting that she was safely hidden within briar and forgotten wood. He had slipped through the tangle with ease and now sat regarding her. She was perhaps the prettiest of the choices given so far. He lifted the pale hair and sleek body. He liked the pale hair and sleek body. Had it been his choice, he would have preferred the more timid, dark-haired one. But this was to be his bride. Therefore the other would go to his brother. If one died, the other would, and he would have to start over and wait again. And if it were him that killed one, perhaps there would be more consequences than waiting. These two had been ordained. They existed because something ancient wished them to be here. He was unsure if he had helped bring them about sooner, or had he been used to bring them to life. That was the problem when dealing with something so ancient as a goddess. One of these two girls was going to bring a gift to the world, and he damn well meant it to be this sleeping one. He stroked a hand from the nape of neck to tailbone, and she arched against his touch, half awaking. He teased the nape of her neck, the small, soft hair. She half purred, half grumbled, starting to wake fully. Then he slid his hand into the pale hair and gripped hard, dragging her off the boards. "Lass, I told ye to let them be till I said so." Cassie yelped and reached to grab the hand and fight herself free. He had knelt over her legs and now used his weight to hold her down. She growled in frustration and started to curse. At that he had half shaken her head and hissed again in her ear, "You will be queen if you can behave and listen. If you can act like spoilt brat who can only think of self, then you will be bowing to another. Only one of ye can be the true queen. I be choosing ye, but keep thinking of only what ye want, and the scared little girlie will be handed the crown. No one knows what I did to him, and I didn't even lay a finger on my mother. They were for the hunt to blood themselves on." He released her hair, but stayed kneeling atop her, keeping her still. They weren't worthy of a hunt, both lazy and pitiful. She snarled, and again he frowned, wondering how much he would be fighting to keep her impulses under control. Well, he was up for a challenge. The proudest make the best servants once they accept their place. He caught her wrists behind her back, forcing her to the dusty boards. "Lass," he purred as he used his free hand to stroke the tangled locks of her hair. "I am the one that says who is worthy to hunt and who is not. I would have made their suffering a gift for you, for our wedding night. Now you've gone and made a fuss of things and risked much of what? For what? And you free of the rest of that clutter of fools? Can you be your true self yet? Be you wearing my crown a day sooner? Be ye in my bed a night sooner? He bent and brushed his lips against the side of her neck. Be those fools that would take ye away before I can declare ye mine rightfully. He smiled as she tried again to fuss, but she caved the affection and attention in spite of herself. It was this flaw he would twist to his own whims. All he needed to do was soothe her, adorn her, make her worship him for all time. He let go of her hands and rolled to a side, catching her to him playfully. She was still angry and wanting to fight, but he could distract her easily enough. He rested a hand on his hound's head. They already half love her. I fell the second I saw her. She is beyond my every desire. The animal snorted and cocked head to regard him with one golden eye. I know I am just still in a daze. She was here. I touched her. I spoke to her. A second snort came from his other side, and a second golden eye regarded him. Aye, and there be ye right, as I expected. Go to her, guard your queen. He watched as the newly minted beast streaked through his hall like a moonbeam and vanished. His own hound was a little more alert, both ears up, head at full height and tail stiff. Forgot that she would call one of ye kind, did ye? And mercy take ye, she called one of who is the very reflection of her soul, did she not? The hound made a weird sound, half a whimper, half a growl. Emily was watching the stars appear, trying not to be too aware of all the tiny faces and movements just beyond the circle of the porch light. They did not want to be seen, but they came needing to see her. She would give them this illusion of secrecy. She was at peace, finally. For the first time she could remember, she looked forward to returning into the house and sleeping. White fur gleamed in the starlight in the field. Would Granny now regard the white beastie in a new light? Then her mouth opened in a gape as she saw it. This was not his hound. This was... She breathed a sigh of relief as a tension she hadn't even known was there released. She knelt and held out her arms to the bounding form as it came straight to her. She buried her face into the softest fur that carried the scent of cedar, salt, and snow. She wept tears of joy. How could I have not known I was missing you, my beauty? A small sound, a scuff of shoe leather, a tiny half cough. Granny was behind her regarding the sight. Ye could not remember till you were ready. Now that's going to twist a fox's tail. Do I need to have the deputy make a bed for you in the barn, or will you two come on inside? Emily stood up, a hand on the hound's back as she walked. Will you let her come inside? Granny looked at the pair. Don't make no matter I like it or not. You and that beastie cannot be parted now that you have found one another. She's the other half of you come forth, the Winter Queen's hound. Emily was still, mindlessly stroking the fur, a distant look in her eyes, We need to take a walk, but then yes, we'll be back. Don't worry. Nothing will happen tonight. The deputy and I sat on the front porch, feeling a touch miserable and a whole lot of confused. Just how on earth was this happening? This was something out of some fairy tale. Granny had told us that all time was just a circle going around. What had been would become the future eventually. There had been something in the past that survived as myths and children's silly stories. Only now those things were going to be coming back. And everything we were might just be fairy tale to them one day. He and I were passing a mason jar back and forth. Not sure either of us wanted to be drunk, but we both needed a good shot of forgetting. Full of the moon, huh? Will it be, 14 days? Then what? The deputy shrugged. Ain't sure we got a damn clue. The kids, I keep thinking about them. Something has been nesting in these lands, hiding in plain sight and stealing our kids. For what? Those kids are being kept for something. We ain't hearing the whole story. Emily has to know. If I thought I could get away with it, I would drag that girl up into the helicopter and do a few flyovers and see what else she's been hiding. You do that and better have a seat for a damn big dog. Granny about gave us both a heart attack. Think that giant hairball wants to go flying? The deputy lifted the mason jar in greeting. The male? Probably won't, but the girl's got a new shadow. Won't be sitting around waiting for you. Granny settled into the swing. She called her beast to her. She's getting ready to fight. And damned if I don't think that girl has it in her to beat the old fox at his game. Granny took the jar from him and drank deep, much to both of our surprise. Emily is a good child. Didn't give my whole truth last night. I was named Hazel 7 days after I was born. I were the first baby born on this side of the ocean. Weren't no state here when I got myself a name. My ma wasn't keen to birth a babe in the forest, but the pennyroyal failed her. Failed her 5 times. All girls. Pa well ignored us till one of the men had a decent farm started. I was almost 12. Seemed to him a decent age to get a well-to-do son-in-law. So he offered me to a man near old as he was. When he told me that, I ran away. Weren't sure where I would go. Weren't many folk in this area. Even the Indians avoided this land. Weren't natural, they said. Followed a river all day till I done found myself in a cornfield. Just ripe enough to roast. Well, weren't a pampered child, so I could fish, catch crawdads, start a fire. To me it seemed a good hiding place, even if I couldn't figure out where the farmer was at. Maybe I could travel along the river till I found more people. Wasn't full grown, but were scrawny or helpless. Be willing to work for my board. Ate my fill, made a bed in the field, out of sight, or so I thought. Now you two been in that field. You know it don't play by no rule of a clock or calendar. Went to sleep on a warm summer night, woke up to snow and a man in a fancy damn clothes I ever saw. He had a nice fire roasting, and I was too cold to be scared of him. And a bit too confuzzled as to where I was. He talked like no one I ever heard and looked aside. Asked me where me folks were, and I lied and said dead. He laughed and said that was one, not again, or a price I would pay. Be it most uncanny the child arrive on its own. How I be making the deal with them, if they ain't strong enough to come to me. Too bad, anyway. You ate me corn, didn't you not? You be owing me now, and you be wanting something. Maybe I can make use of my very own calech. Granny shook her head. Didn't know what that were, and he said I would be like an herb wife, only never a wife. Sounded good to me. He said sleep, and when I woke I could be his calech. I slept the night by the fire and woke here. Weren't quite as you see it. A 2-room log cabin, garden, a few animals. And where I had been a child, I were as you see me now. I knew when I saw a plant what it could be used for, how to heal a cut or kill a deformed babe. She was looking at her hands. I thought he'd gone and stole my whole life in a night. But when the house changes, people forget who I was. Start calling me a new name. Been many changes. I done brought babies into this world that are dust in the ground. I done seen men dying in wars and sickness. That lost boy, he died on my kitchen table. Only I was Marigold then, and made them bury him proper. I knew the moment I saw him he was in the wrong time. A deep sigh shook her thin shoulders. Fox, he comes sometime for a herbal concoction. Sometimes he tells me to make a woman lose a pregnancy early, or make sure a man wouldn't live the week out after a strange injury. More, he had me watch a girl child grow every so many years. Them girls all but one died. Be you knowing the tale of Linda? She ran far and finally ran into the service of something old Foxy fears about as much as Danu. When I tell you my bones are worn thin, I mean it. My sins are heavy. It be time I slept, but I can't till that girl becomes Winter Queen. Cassie was still angry, but it was fading away. He had left her, telling her to stay put. He would see her safe the night. She went down the ladder and stood in the opening where maybe a door had been, or just a gate. It didn't matter. The brambles would give her notice if anyone came near. The night was blacker than she had ever seen it, and the stars looked like spilt salt scattered across the sky. She realized, I gotta get that right. She realized there was a glow in the tiny barn and frowned. Maybe he'd left her a lantern. She turned and stifled a yelp, staring wide-eyed at the largest damn dog. No, dog was too poor a word for the creature. A wolfhound and an Afghan mixed with a deer? All of it gleaming white fur, golden eyes, and beside it stood a girl her age, black curls haloed about her head, and golden eyes. He's not lying to you, nor is he telling you the whole truth, soon-to-be Summer Queen. Who are you? She finally stammered. Eyes kept returning to the beast that looked like something out of a fairy tale. Your sister, the future Winter Queen. Silkwoth. This raven. Oh, we have the two meeting at last. How fantastic. This is one of my favorite stories ever. Absolutely. If you like it too, let Gelfwyn know, either here or please visit her page and see the other wonderful stories she's written. Give me a like so I know you like it. Subscribe and ring the little bell if you haven't done so you know when to come up and see me. And I will see you all next time, my darlings. Bye-bye.